I made a post about scoffers. And one of the questions that I asked was this pressing question. And it says, why do believers insist on sitting in the company of mockers? Mockers in the Bible, you'll see where they use the term scoffers. So it's the same thing. It's just people who believe and oftentimes mock Jesus Christ, mock the Bible, mock God. They don't believe at all. It's kind of like the Pharaoh of the Egyptians, and you see how his heart was hardened. He didn't believe in God at all, right? So that would be a kind of like what a scoffer is. They don't believe. Is nothing you tell them. They're unteachable. So anything you tell them is not going to make a difference to them. You could say, oh, I'm going to try to really get them to know God. They don't want to know God. They ask questions not to get an answer, but question to continue to fuel their pride, to continue to fuel their disbelief. So nothing you say is going to help. That's only going to take the work of God to transform their life. But we know in order for that to happen, they would have to open their heart and be willing to surrender to God. One of the other verse that I used was a verse from Second Peter 3 verse 3, and it says, above all, you must understand that in the last days scoffers will come, scoffing and following their own evil desires. And remember, I said that scoffers, they ask questions but not really to get answers. So here we have where they will say, in verse 4, it says, they will say, where is this coming he promised? They're mocking those who believe that there'll be a coming of Jesus Christ back. Jesus is returning back to the earth. So here you have them mocking because they want to continue to live in their evil ways. They don't want to give up their evil desire because they do not even believe that. So here you are, you're spending time and you're telling them about the coming back, and you think, if I sit with them, it would be okay. But it's not okay. There must be some separation in this season between the believer and the unbeliever. You cannot let yourself be caught sitting in the company of those who are willful against God. You have to pick a side. You have to decide, which side am I standing on? You cannot be caught standing on the side of someone who clearly do not believe in your God, who mocks your God, who don't even who will mock you for believing in God. You cannot find yourself being in the company of people like that. One thing I love, this earlier I was reading Exodus 14, and I love that in one of the verses, just let me get there real quick, in Exodus 14, and we see God do something to put separation between the Egyptians that were after the Egyptians from the Israelite. What he ended up doing, it says in verse 24, it says, during the last watch of the night, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. He jammed the wheels of their chariots so that they had difficulty driving. But even before that, in verse 19, it tells us that the angel of God, who had been traveling in front of Israel's army, withdrew and went behind them. The pillar of cloud also moved from in the front and stood behind them, coming between the armies of Egypt and Israel. So throughout the night, the cloud brought darkness to the one side and light to the other side. So neither went near the other all night long. So there was separation between the Egyptians and the Israelites. God put a separation between the two. So this is why we're trying to mix light and darkness and light, but it cannot be mixed. It cannot be mixed. If you're a light, be a light carrier, but it cannot be mixed. Light drives out darkness. It doesn't mix with it. So the other thing I just want to even touch on, why I wanted to even do this video, is because some people might think, well, an unbeliever is a doubter. And I say there is a distinction between an unbeliever, a person who do not believe, and a doubter. So I just want to make it clear that doubt is not the opposite of faith. So let's get that off the table. But it is a question of faith, but is not the opposite of it. You are questioning if for a person who doubt, and I'm gonna read, I believe it's in Mark. It's in Mark 9. There's a story in Mark 9 about the man who had the son that kept throwing himself down. He was always convulsing and he didn't speak. I believe it's in Mark 9. And we can see, let me just get to it real quick. Yes, in Mark 9 verse 14, we see that Jesus was able to heal the boy that was possessed with the impure spirit. That's the one. And in that, one of the things that happened, when the man brought the son before Jesus, the disciples couldn't drive out the spirit. Right? So here the man bring the boy in front of Jesus, and he said this question. He says, he said to Jesus, I'm trying to get it word for word. Yeah, in verse 23, he says, if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us. That if you can, it reeks doubt. It says, I doubt that you can. So here you are talking to Jesus, the Son of God, who is able to do miracles, signs, and wonders. And you are saying, if you can. So that is doubt. But the response is where you realize that he is a doubter. He's not an unbeliever. He said, the man respond back to Jesus and he says, I do believe, meaning I do believe that Jesus, you can heal. I do believe that. I do believe in your ministry. Help me overcome my unbelief. So help me overcome my doubt that you can heal my son. And that doubt arises because the disciples couldn't do it. No one else before the disciples could do it. So now they're trying to get in front of Jesus Christ. And now this is a last resort. This is a last ditch effort. If Jesus can't do it, then who can? But he come before Jesus and he said, I believe. That's why I'm doing this. I believe. That's why I believe you are a miracle worker. That's why I'm bringing my son to you. But at the same time, I've tried so many different things before. So now I have some doubt, right? And all Jesus had to do was say to the little boy, and he says, you deaf and mute spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again. That's what Jesus ended up saying, and the boy was healed. So now just back, I hope that gives you a clear picture of the difference between an unbeliever and a believer. So a disbeliever, a person who deals with unbelief, is a person who is always ready to doubt or question the truth or existence of God. Then you have a doubter. A doubter is someone who doubts. Who is like a skeptic. So like I said, a skeptic of, I believe that you are the Son of God, but I don't know if you're able to do anything in my situation right now, right? I was reading something that Pastor Vlad said, and I really love this. He said, doubt questions what you believe, and he said unbelief is a determined refusal to believe. The video got cut out earlier. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. But I was bringing up that Pastor Vlad said something about doubters. He did a comparison between doubters and unbelievers, and in one of them he said he says, doubt questions what you believe. Unbelief is a determined refusal to believe. So an unbeliever already purposed in their heart that they won't believe. They're determined to not believe. And then one of the other thing that he says, doubt says, I can't believe, I need more proof. An unbeliever says, I refuse to believe despite the evidence. So those are just some of the different things. Like doubt is honest, while an unbelief is stubborn. Doubt is looking for the light. Unbelief is content with the darkness. Doubt is born from a troubled mind and a broken heart. Unbelief is an act of will. So he just went through a couple different things, and hopefully that helped you, because sometimes we really beat up on ourselves a lot, and we sometimes don't know how to distinguish between being an unbeliever and being a doubter. But one of the things that we have to get into the habit of doing, I was thinking that even earlier, I said we have to really work on, do we trust God? Like, do I trust God? Ask yourself that. Do I really trust God in this situation? Like, there'll be things that come up that make you feel like, I don't know, I trust God, but this, will he help me with, give me what I need this month? Will he give me my daily bread this month? I'm out of a job, but what do I do? And I just believe that God really give us grace in that area. But at some point, we have to step out of doubt. We have to step out of double-mindedness, because as I mentioned earlier, that is the area where the enemy really works on and really start feeding us a lot of negativity. It really starts to torment us with different thoughts that make us lose hope. Right? That's the place you don't want to be. And the other thing too is that the temptation that arises out of doubt. So you are doubt, and God give us grace there, but you don't want to stay there. You don't want to remain a doubter. You don't want to stay there. It's tormenting. The enemy torments you, and next thing you know, you are tempted to sin. It's like the enemy is crouching at your door, get ready for you to sin, wants you to sin. Because what's going to happen when you feel like God can't do it? We have the nature of thinking that we can do it ourselves. Again, when we feel like God cannot show up for us, we have the tendency to try to show up and do it ourselves. And then we are out of the alignment with the will of God. We are unable to discern what the will of God is for that situation and for a life. So don't get to the place in your life where you feel like you can be God over your life. It's a dangerous place to be in, because in everything we should be declaring and we should be making Lord the head over our life. Like, Jesus, you are Lord over my finances. Jesus, you are Lord over my mind. Jesus, you are Lord over my mortgage. Jesus, you are Lord over my children. Jesus, you are Lord over my food intake. Like, Jesus, you are Lord. So we have to we can't try to, or even attempt to, usurp the authority of God over our life. So then we are really we're treading at a dangerous path when we start to do that. So I just wanted to share that with you all. I hope it helps, and I want us, just two things that I wrote down. And the first one is, come out of agreement with doubt and agree with God quickly about who he is and what he says about you. Come out of agreement with doubt and agree with God quickly about who he is. Trust his promises for your life, and agree with him that he is more than able, and he's more than willing, more than capable of taking care of you, his child. The other thing is we want to come out of agreement with fear. The Bible tells us in 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 that God did not give us a spirit of fear, but he gave us power and love and a sound mind. So we want to get out of agreement with fear. Come out of agreement with it. Come out of agreement with double-mindedness. Come out of agreement with worry. Come out of agreement with stubbornness. Come out of agreement. Come out of agreement with doubt. In the name of Jesus, come out of agreement with those things. Because we want to be able to be in alignment with God. We want to be able to always discern the will of God for our life. We don't want to get caught in a place where God is telling us one thing and God is trying to do one thing in our life, but because of doubt, we end up doing something else. Because of doubt, we end up sinning. Because of doubt, we end up turning our back against God. You don't want to be in that place. So come out of agreement with anything that is not of God on today. In 1 Corinthians 15, it tells us that we need to be steadfast. We need to be immovable. We need to be always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that in the Lord our labor is not in vain. Our labor is not in vain. So today I'm here to tell someone, you might be facing a challenging season right now in your life, but I want to encourage you to continue to trust in God. Trust in God. The word tells us that he will never leave us or forsake us. We know that David said it best. He said, I have never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging bread. So on today, I want you, no matter what it is, put your trust back in God. He's the one that we can put our hope in, because we know that God, he says he's an ever-present help in time of trouble. We know that the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof and everything in it. Right? We know that. We know the word. Now it's time to live the word. We need to speak the word, proclaim the word over our life. Right? We need to do that. So continue to seek God. Continue to seek him first. Continue to live righteously. Seek righteousness. But in all, be steadfast. Be immovable. Always abounding in the work of the Lord. Knowing that in the Lord your labor is not in vain. Your labor is not in vain. So if I feel like someone needs to hear that today, that your labor is not in vain. Your labor is not in vain. Do not let doubt have you step out of alignment with God. Remain steadfast in faith. Continue to believe. You don't just wait to see the thing, but believe when you don't see it. That is faith. That is faith. And if you know where your hope is, if you know that God is your hope, then you know that it's good. It's good. It's good. Because when we decide that we're going to take matters into our own hands, what we're doing is telling our God, it's telling our Father that you cannot take care of me. It's telling God that you're treating God like a deadbeat father. And God is not a deadbeat father. So today, I encourage you to put your trust back in God. Come out of agreement with doubt. Come out of agreement with fear. Come out of agreement with worry. The word tells us that we need to be content. So come out of agreement with being impatient. Come out of agreement with those things that are not in alignment with the will of God. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Love you all. Love you all. Love you all.